As they say, variety is the spice of life, and Fujifilm has just extended their spice rack by adding this new spice, the X-S10.
Maybe the S is for spice, but is it a spice for all tastes?
Now it's all hurry, hurry, hurry because the courier's just dropped it off for me. He's gone for a quick vape and he'll be picking up very shortly. I've only got a very short time with the X-S10, but it's all good. We can have a quick look at this to see what it's all about. On first appearance, it looks very similar to the XT single digit and the XT double digit, but this actually slots in between something.
I reckon it goes in between XH1, no longer bye-bye, and XT4, no wait a minute, this is lower than XT4, it's got to be in between this and that, or is it the other? It's doesn't matter. It's like a sandwich filling, it doesn't matter where it goes as long as it's in the middle, unless it's an open sandwich.
The size is smaller than XT4, it's got a new grip, and this is brand new too. The PASM dial.
The grip is welcome, it fits nicely, as nice as or maybe nicer than an XT4 because it's deeper, but as it's smaller your pinky will be falling off the edge. The PASM dial, however, might not be for some of those hardcore Fuji fanboys.
And you're probably thinking that kind of defeats the whole purpose of Fujifilm X, right? Well, yes, kind of, but at the same time, some people are just used to the PASM dials.
But don't forget that not everyone will understand the old school dials that you'll typically find on the Fuji X camera.
So as it has got the PASM dial, it's got the control dial on the front and the back to set your aperture and your shutter speed.
Ergonomically, the body is great, controls there. In the hands, fits like a small glove, which means there's only one card slot and it's under the battery card flap. But they tidily fit flush into the hump right there.
One thing I must note is that the half press is quite far down. It even feels like it's got half press before that. That half press almost feels like a full press.
Whatever, the
You know what I
images
mean.
are full-on Fujifilm film-like deliciousness as per. These be JPEGs only and they look sweet. Like the XT4, it's also got 18 film simulations.
If you look at the mode dial there, you can see 4 customizable modes. There's also customizable buttons and menus, and oh look, there's a record button right there, which means it's going to be good for video. It's got kind of similar video to the XT4, although this is 8-bit 420 video, long GOP instead of all I. But when you switch between video and photo mode, you get different menus, different settings, which is nice.
So quite a lot of bits in line with the XT4. Always appreciate it when the flavours aren't watered down.
This has got the 4th generation X-Trans CMOS sensor, backside illuminated, so it should be good in low light.
For a 26 megapixel APS-C sensor, you'll get usable results up to ISO 12800. You'll also be able to focus better in the low light.
It's also got -7 EV autofocusing, 100% phase detection autofocus coverage, 30 FPS continuous burst, blackout free of course.
Electronic shutter OBS, that incurs a bit of a crop, but you can do 20 FPS blackout free without crop, although you can't really see much here, so here's something else you can look at. And if you're using a mechanical shutter, 8 FPS. Ah, you quitter.
And then your face and eye AF, which is pretty much standard these days.
As I said, a lot of the feel and performance of an XT4. They've even flipped out the XT4 screen for all the people whose favourite subject is themselves. Yeah.
And with the tilty flippy outy screen, it's going to be good for vloggers.
It's also got a 3.5mm mic input, but for the headphone input, it's USB-C to 3.5mm, which might be problematic, but probably not if you're vlogging. Then you've also got a turn of film simulation as well as F-Log, but then also if you really have to shoot 10-bit video, then you can do with an HDMI and a recorder. Of course, they had to draw a line somewhere with the XT4 goodness. It doesn't do 4K 60, it doesn't do 10-bit, it doesn't have all I. But you do get F-Log, a turner, zebra function, timecode, and a tally light. Video still looks pretty good, but the stabilization works so damn well. When taking handheld shots, and this is at the longest end of 55mm, the panning shots look pretty immaculate. There's also a boost mode and digital IS, which incurs a little bit of a crop, but I'd probably find myself never using them because the IBIS and OIS combined already is pretty sweet. And talking about the IBS system, it's actually different to the XT4. It's smaller, 30% smaller. They had to shrink it to make it fit into the body. But yet it still offers up 6 stops of stabilization, which allowed me to get stable-ish handheld shots even at 1 second. But as much as they've added stuff from the XT4, there are some things or lack of things that remind you that this is not on the same level as the XT4, like it doesn't have any weather sealing.
Then there's the auto mode, which has been tweaked to allow changing of AF zone. You've got RAW option and auto film simulation. That indicates that this camera is sort of like a stepping stone for learners, new photographers. It might be quite surprising actually that this is not an X-T40 announcement, because it seems like that would have been the next camera, and it might be disappointing to some hardcore Fuji fanboys. But this is not about them and their tastes. It's about introducing the X system and making more accessible to a bigger crowd.